is why are we mad at Umar? Umar, he can get vitriol for several reasons, but there's a particular one. So that takes us to this tweet. Let me make sure everyone can see the screen. Yes, indeed. So that takes us to this tweet. You might not be able to see the top part of it well, but it's from One of One. It says, Dr. Umar talks about how the lack of fathers and community men for decades not only masculinized black women, but affects black boys, which continues the cycle. So this is a part 1 of 2. You guys see my post up there, or my poll, I should say, up there, pinned to the top of the chat. I'd like you guys to respond to that as well. But let's watch this video. And I guess there's a second video. So we'll watch them each twice, and then we'll discuss it.
Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be a man. You ain't got to work, or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. It does have value, but we're going to put that up against the other statistic. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. And like I said, when I say being raised, I'm not saying it needs to be a father. I would like a father in that house, but I know it's not enough of us to go around. We are not even being accountable to the boys in the hood. And we're complaining about the women. I argue with women who are making babies with the irresponsible men that we didn't raise correctly. That's bullshit. All right. That's wimp ass weak man shit. Take responsibility for our shit. Stop scapegoating them.
Yeah, I could agree. I could agree to that.
All I'm saying is look at all we could be doing better, man. Half the black boys in the 4th grade can't read. What black men doing about that systemically?
All right, one more time, I'll play it.
Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be a man. You ain't got to work, or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. It does have value, but we're going to put that up against the other statistic. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. And like I said, when I say being raised, I'm not saying it needs to be a father. I would like a father in that house, but I know it's not enough of us to go around. We are not even being accountable to the boys in the hood. And we're complaining about the women. I argue with women who are making babies with the irresponsible men that we didn't raise correctly. That's bullshit. All right. That's wimp ass weak man shit. Take responsibility for our shit. Stop scapegoating them.
Yeah, I could agree. I could agree to that.
All I'm saying is look at all we could be doing better, man. Half the black boys in the 4th grade can't read. What black men doing about that systemically? And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males, what we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking, what we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. If the men are the providers, What have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough. She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs to be
we was
more
loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
you're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good quality men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
What?
Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If we never allowed Pookie to develop, she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel. I can hear this talk like this discourse we having now.
Yeah.
We act like we don't understand.
No,
there's reasons for that shit.
I do.
See, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course you're going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males, what we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking, what we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she's not humble enough. She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs to be more
If we was loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
you're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good quality men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
What?
Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If we never allowed Pookie to develop, she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel. I can hear this talk like this discourse we having now.
Yeah.
We act like we don't understand.
No,
there's reasons for that shit.
I do.
Oh boy. So I like what Trigger Happy 262 Plus says. He says, when I listened to it, I think Dr. Umar was right in a lot of areas, but he just wasn't complete in his analysis is all. Hence, it should be understood that it's more of a systemic analysis. Bakari says he agrees with Umar. I personally fall in between. I see what Umar is doing. Umar is pandering. And ain't no one gonna tell me different. Umar is doing that pandering bullshit that I completely and thoroughly dislike. How am I the fault? Now he's gonna say, well, it's not individually this, that, and the other, but how am I? How is Oni? How is Guam? How are we the fault of a woman or women currently today choosing the dregs of society to procreate with? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And where does this come from that I have to be accountable for a person with agency? I like to use that term when I talk about these women, right? We act like these women don't have agency to see what's going on. It's like, I'm going to throw it to the panel in a second, but here's how I look at it. It's like we're on a boat. A bunch of people is on a boat, right? A bunch of people is on a boat. The boat has started taking on water now. It's sinking. The men on the boat decide to bail off the water, find, we find the source of the leak. We're trying to patch it. And when we look up, there's a woman up at the top of the bow there pumping water into the ship. What are we talking about? How can we fix a thing and then have to fight against someone doing the exact damage that we're trying to fix? It doesn't make sense. Now, things that he's right about is that men need to be better. We do have to take control of our situation, but what's not being discussed, as Trigger Happy alluded to, this situation that's out here right now, particularly in America, but in the West in general, it's a bad situation in these communities, man. This is akin to an insurrection in our communities. And you know how you put down insurrections? Go ask the United States what's their plan to put down insurrections. You have to have military might to deal with this shit out here. You know who figured this out back in the day? The aging civil rights leaders in the early 90s. They recognized something. They recognized that the problem, and of course the white man is who creates the problem ultimately, right? But they recognize this problem is out of hand. We can't do nothing about it. So you know what they did? They ran to Bill Clinton and the Democrats and said, yo, can you help us with this shit? And that's where those 3 strikes laws came in. This thing out here now is out of hand. And don't tell me that these women don't have the sense to see that this ship is sinking. Why would you still go and lay up with these low-grade men and make these children? And then turn to the conscious of us to say, go and fix it. It makes no sense. And I don't appreciate guys like Umar and them, because Umar's sitting up here acting like he's out there in the streets. Umar's not in the streets. Umar's an academic building a school. That's great. Umar is nowhere near where these folks are, where these problematic folks are. He's not out there. And lastly, and I saved it for last because I don't want people to say, well, I'm trying to attack the man. But who's Umar to talk? Doesn't he have children being raised by their mothers? What is he talking about? What is he talking about? We all have a responsibility, right? But to sit up here and act like, well, the women could just wash their hands of any responsibility is nonsense. I said my part. Let me throw it to Buana. Buana would say.
Coco, you did an excellent job. You did an excellent job in giving your analysis, and you went through all the little tropes that we usually go through and talking about these things. You talk about agency, which women should supposed to have in and of themselves. You know, it's like, why do I need to give you an opinion? You know, don't you have some thoughts of your own? So it's like you infantilize the woman to suggest that they only could think, they only could act based off of our actions, based off of our thoughts, based off of our ideas. Don't you have some thoughts of your own as an adult person? And if you do have thoughts of your own, where's the responsibility for the things that you actively do? These one-sided conversations, I know where you're coming from. You know, Dr. Johnson is just marketing, and he's appealing to his base, which is a bunch of Black women. So you tell Black women things that make them feel good, and which not necessarily 100% truthful. Just as long as they make them feel good, they'll go hit the Cash App. They'll reach down deep into their wallet and pocketbooks and pay him. It's that old, the Black woman is God trope, you know, them dudes from 120th Street, 25th Street was talking about. And then God ended up putting you in court for child support. Get out of here. So
court for molesting a kid.
Yeah, now God gonna put you in court for molestation, and you have to call police. But I personally think that we as a community should take responsibility for our personal actions. That's very important. And it's enough of this name blaming thing. Everybody pointing the finger at everyone else. But what are you doing directly? These people big on these African sayings, but if every person, what's the thing, Oni? If every person sweeps their own doorstep, the neighborhood will become eventually clean. You have to look inside and find out what exactly are you doing. And I find it very funny that me personally, I never heard from Dr. Umar's baby mamas. You know what I mean? I don't see him with his daughters hanging around him at all. But yet still he have all this opinion about what black men are doing wrong. Is there anything that we actually get right? That's the question I have. Because you get up on this platform, we are uh, miserable human beings. Just can't get nothing ever right. Is there anything that we are actually getting right? I never had that part of the argument or part of the conversation. Only is a single dad, and he been a single dad for a minute. You know what I mean? What about people like them who exist in these spaces? And it's not to say that we trying to look for compliment, fishing for compliment, and fishing for somebody to pat us on our head. But there are many responsible black men out here. I am not supposed to be held accountable for some woman who I don't know, who is engaged in actions that I consider to be ridiculous. Now all of a sudden I'm responsible for her and her children, and what happens to them? Come on, man. Come on, man. My brother Azuli used to use this term. He used to call it state property. There are some women out here who are state property. They are property of the state, created and fashioned and formed after the state. You know what I mean? And when they turn out the way the state wants them to turn out, I am supposed to be held accountable for their actions. I don't create laws in the society. I don't create systems. I don't create institutions in the society. Yet still, I am supposed to be held responsible for the output or the result of what society has created. And if you was to try to check and try to tell many of these same women, hey man, get a hold of your child, get a hold of your child, they'll curse you right out underneath your clothes. Do I want the black community to fall into disrepute? No. But what I could do as one human being, I try to do. Who I can influence, I try to influence. But I should not be held accountable for the actions of all black women. And that's just, for me, that's malarkey. But like I say, he is trying to appeal. This is red meat to his particular audience of black women, and it's going to make them reach deep down into their pockets and continue to hit the cash out. That's how I look at this. But I'll stop there and let Oni go.
No, I appreciate that, Juana. Trigger Happy said, criticizing Umar, we can't really assume his familial status. So here's what I'll say to that, Trigger. We talked about this just a few weeks ago on here. It was mentioned that we all know Umar is one of these dudes. When he's going around the country doing his lectures, he's out here, trying to scoop up women. I mean, this is a known thing. This is nothing hidden. This is known. So my thing is, Umar, what are you talking about? But I'll keep it on the topic and not talk about the man. We know Umar's a pandering dude. Let's stop this now. Let's stop this. And I like everything Buana had to say there. You want to tell me I must now be responsible. And listen, I understand we are an African people, and in classical times, in traditional Africa, we had that Ubuntu paradigm and whatsoever. But that didn't mean that folks didn't have friggin' responsibility. Everyone has a responsibility. Where is your responsibility? Let me welcome in Brother Bakari this week. Brother Bakari, how are you this week? Unmute your mic, Bakari.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, peace to everybody on the panel. Chad, what's up? Buana, Oni, Koku, Shaq.
What's up? What's up, white man?
What's up? Good, man.
I think I've just heard Bawana and I've heard Koku. I think what we're doing, what you two have done, I think we conflated. We conflated a whole lot of things between black men and women, and got away from what black men are doing in the community and why, as they call them, and I won't use those names. They say Pookie and Ray Ray, so I'm gonna say Kevin and Brandon, because I don't. We the only people in the world. If you get a name, we figure out a way to talk about each other because of your name. But that's something else. But anyway, when he was talking about what men is doing, and I agree with what I can't say his name, Oya Bawale said in the chat. This is why black men is not respected. See, this is why when I say pound and pavement and I talk about mentoring groups, right? This is what I'm talking about. See, we can't just say, oh, are we responsible for women? This is why I didn't answer what was in the thing, because it was hard to answer. Yes, at times, then no. But the men who is not there taking care of the children, the women get blamed for that, right? Well, they're the only parent. And no, they're the only one that's involved, but they didn't make the baby by himself, right? By herself. So when we look at the thing, black people have to think about, do we want our community to be better, or do we want our children, 14, 15-year-old black kids, constantly going to prison for shooting and killing because the TV, the rappers, people like Lil Boosie can influence them? But instead of us trying to be an influence, we would look and say, well, you know, that's that woman's fault. Well, actually, is it her fault? Yes and no. Because I'm a firm believer in once a young boy get a certain age, 10, 11, 12, 13, he needs to be with the father. Because a woman can't show a boy how to be a man, just like a man can't show a little girl how to be a woman. So when we sit and we want to say, well, he's pandering, maybe he is. But the reason I agree with what's going on is because we were set and we allowing our youth, we say we want our community to get better, but we don't want to mentor, we don't want to get in the streets, we don't want to do nothing to make it better. You understand? But then when we allow people, I'm gonna say the name again, because people listen to him. When someone like Lil Boosie become an influence, then we blame the woman Pookie and Ray Ray. Well, Pookie and Ray Ray is trying to be like Kevin and Brandon. They're trying to be like Lil Boosie, who has become an influence. So guess what? They're gonna act tough. And a lot of times, this is just my opinion, and I'm saying it's my opinion. I've actually talked to someone. A woman want to feel protected. Now, lots of times they don't know them dudes, punks, and them dudes those dudes ain't gonna protect nothing. But they got their swagger, they acting like they tough, they talk like they tough. We ain't gonna let this happen to you, we ain't gonna let that happen to you. But then they don't live up to their words. Now they don't live up to their words, they're gone, their woman is gone. So then the rest of the community will sit back and we'll watch people ride around and shoot up folks' house. We don't want to snitch though, because that's against the rule. But we don't want to go out here and we don't want to have a mentoring program. We don't want to do nothing to try to make it better because she should have chose me. See, when I hear people say, well, they chose Pookie and Ray Ray, it's because he's weak. That dude up there with that New York hat on who say that, well, she chose him. He's mad because those women didn't choose him because he was weak. That's how I take those statements. Because we can just sit back. So I don't want to hear nobody say nothing about no white people created a problem. I don't want to hear, this is me. My personal opinion, don't talk about somebody else when we are on such a high horse where we can't come together and try to fix the community. So it's either we're going to stop what's going on or we're going to just let the community burn. 80% of our black children go eventually just get blown up. We going to be dead. But guess what? That child ain't mine. No, that one child is not. The child, Herschel was not my responsibility either. He was not my child, but I met his father and I knew his father was a piece of shit, pardon my French. And I knew he needed a man to talk to, and I knew he would talk to me, and he did talk to me. Did I help him? Somewhat. I helped him a lot. He went down the road I told him he was going to go down. I don't make him do nothing. I just tell him what's gonna happen. But then once it happened, then he come back. I want to change. I want to do this. I got a job. I want to finish school. I want to go do this. Can you help me? But if we turn our back, because it ain't my child, we turn our back as a group. I ain't saying one person go out here and say the community is ours. I'm talking about black men stand up to be men. No other men let this BS go on. Show me where you can find, because we like to say white, I'm going to say Oriental, I'm going to say East Indian, I'm going to say Arab, I'm going to say Hispanics. Over here, I ain't talking about in 8 countries where they live. I'm talking about over here in this country where we live. Where 14 and 15-year-olds can ride around and shoot up people's houses and the men don't do nothing. Well, the white folks, well, that's Susan child or Apu. Well, you know, that's our Raka child. That says not my. We the only people that take that approach, but then we say we want our community fixed. How can we fix it? Because anything that we build, guess what? Those children is going to still be there. So it's going to take the men, is going to have to be the one that's going to say, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to change. I'm just on that note. I get the mic.
I appreciate that, Bakari. I don't know if you heard it. I think you were in the chat at the time, but I gave an analogy that covers everything you just said. I said it's like us being on a big ship, men, black women together, and the ship has a leak in it. It's taking on water. The men go and find the leak and are bailing the water out of the ship and trying to patch the leak. And when we look up, there's a woman or women pumping water back into the ship. I have no problem, and I expect us as men to come together and want to fix our community. But first to begin with, that's going to be a minority of men. Let's just keep it real. That's going to be a minority of men who are going to come together with those intentions. And while we're doing that, we cannot have women as if they don't have no damn sense. We cannot have women making bad decisions for us to have to go back and fix those bad decisions, the outcomes of those bad decisions while we're trying to fix the community. It doesn't make sense. And this idea that the women could just sit over in the corner filing their nails, watching their stories on TV while men are trying to fix the community, and y'all ain't doing nothing. In fact, y'all doing the opposite of what we're doing by continuously choosing the low life, right? The kind of guys who will not help to build a community. We can't have that. That makes no sense. It makes no sense for us to be on that. Yes, men come together. Let's try to straighten up the community. But women, you can't keep doing the same shit again. You have to transform yourself and be in line with what we're doing. Only what say you to all this?
Yeah, I just said, I just remembered I should have looked up the quote, but I can't find it right now. So I think it comes back to, I think one of the issues, and this is one of the issues I had with Umar Johnson when I first met him, right? A lot of times we talk about organize and we don't have an organization, and the quote I was looking for was a quote that I used to go over, every, I want to say every 2 months when I had an organization, which was a Kwame Ture quote who said, black people, it's not about inferior or superior. Black people white folk are not superior to black folk. They're better organized because say what you want. The Klan meets up every week to discuss their racist ideology, whereas most black people don't. Obviously we all do meet up in church or whatever, but beyond church, we don't really meet up once a week. What I could tell you is this, because I sometimes pass through this Jew area when I'm on my way wherever, and I noticed that they meet up every week to try to develop their communities. I think the issue is black people, generally speaking, do not like Brother Bakari saying, hit the pavement. We do not hit the pavement. We're not serious about bringing up black people. And I think, I'm not saying I agree with Umar Johnson, but I think that's what Umar Johnson could have been saying. But again, like I said, first time I saw him, he was talking all that organization stuff, but I'm like, what organization are you a part of? Matter of fact, I think I asked him, and he might have told me something, but I was like, I never even heard of that thing, you know. But it's like that's really what it comes back to, because what I could say is this: I'm on social media, right? I'm on Twitter, whatever, and right now these quote unquote Pan-Africanists are just jumping up on this other guy, who says he's a Pan-Africanist, and they're doing this. And it's like, that's all they're doing. That's all they ever do. You know, they're just kind of gatekeeping Pan-Africanism, just gatekeeping the Black conscious conversation. And it's like, that's not enough if you're talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and whatever, you know. Apologies to Brother Bakari that I'm using that. But why I'm saying that is because I remember sometimes I would go to this, I'll go to the UAM. UAM, United African Movement, right? That's where Ultimatics was, right? And that's all the way down, and I'll give for people in Brooklyn, I'll give you guys a clue. It's all the way down in Fulton and Franklin, near there, right? Near there, Fulton and Franklin. So I would decide to walk, 4 miles, back, in the middle of the night, I guess, from there, kind of down Nostrand Avenue, back to where the junction's at. Okay. So I walk these 4 miles and I'm just looking through and like, hey, I go to this nice, powerful Black meeting. And then afterward, I just walk through pretty much the hood, pretty much an area untouched by Black consciousness, and that would always kind of like remind me, hey, you know what? This work really needs to touch Black consciousness. Now, granted, I was young, I was a little naive, obviously you don't have the resources necessarily, given the conscious space, but at the same time, it's still a critique on our people. Because I remember one time I saw this one brother, getting arrested, and he looked at me in my RGB garb, and he's like, "Do something." I'm like, "Negro, why you wasn't there at the meeting?" like, you should have been at the meeting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't got no motherfucking funds. You should have been at the meeting. You should have had your shit right. But I really, really though, it reminds me of another story where this woman says, she saw these older Black men kind of laughing at this Black youth as he was getting beat up by the police. And she was like, realistically, I'm not talking about me per se, but she's saying realistically, she thought, really these Black men were just cowards. And they were just laughing to hide their impotence, And I think, I'm not saying that's what Umar Johnson was speaking about, but I think that is a subject that's underspoken about, in the sense of when he asked, hey, what are Black men doing? That's it. Now, Black women choosing the bad partners. The thing I realized about this, if I'm being honest with you, a lot of those Black women choosing bad partners are bad women, and they're bad women choosing bad men. Not really my problem, and not just not my problem. What I could say is this. I tried talking to one of those bad women. Shit, boy. You know what I'm saying? It was like at this point, like I said, I came to America. I came from Tanzania, and I came back, and I was, some people might say, "Oh man, this guy's, he can't put down a panty or whatever," right? I don't know. I'm celibate now. I'm just like, no. After dealing with the women here, I'm just celibate. And another thing I would say is this: that realistically, the women here, they like simping, And I know Coco don't like simping. I'm not really go against simping, but the women here, the simping in America is so different from the simping in Africa, where it's like the simping in America is women really like trying to steal from you, really trying to manipulate you. The simping in Africa is people kind of just being honest and upfront, that's just like whatever. Simping in America is women really trying to steal from you. Women will set up ways to kill you type. Like that's the caliber of women. So I can see why if somebody's not in Africa, they're so against simping, but like it's a totally different thing. And so Pookie and Ray Ray, say what you will, they're gonna pay for pom pom. Like even if you see that story of the boy Zion Williams, you might, you pity him after a while because it's like, damn, that girl crazy. But this is a dude who was paying $10,000 freaking dollars to get with a woman who has like a plastic woman for a night. This is the kind of, and again, he's an idol. He's an inspiration in the Black community. He's a whatever, right? But long story short, the women that we're talking about are trash women that, realistically speaking, I wouldn't even like. You're not supposed to even touch with a pole. And the women and the men are also trash men. It's not like these are good women choosing good men. The are bad men. The problem is that you can't stop bad people from procreating. And so they procreate, and then they have these little bad kids. What can you do for these bad kids? Not really much. I mean, you should be able to do. You should do something for these bad kids, I guess. Or you should do something for these kids. You could do, community work and all that kind of stuff. But understand that you can't do much about bad women and bad men, because trying to get involved with bad women it could get you killed. Like, I was talking to this woman. I'm pretty sure that if I had went through with our date, she would have set up some dudes to kill me. I wouldn't even be here if I had gone to this date with this woman. I'm gonna say that.
Let me also briefly say that Dr. Umar Johnson is a public figure. Umar Johnson goes all over the United States and even outside of the United States, and I'm sure that he has come in contact with many organizations, mentorship programs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that has men at the helm, young men, old men at the helm of these organizations. The challenge he should put out there on the platforms that he is on is just to challenge the people who would listen to him to join these membership programs within whatever state that they are in, or join an organization. Direct this idea of leadership that you brag about holding and wielding. It's all this influence that you seem to wield. Every public platform you are on, you should be directing young men or men with skill or men with training or men with the capacity to pass off their skill and training into a particular or program that's within the state that you are speaking and lecturing in, or whatever country that you find yourself going to. Be the cause of the solution, not exposing the problem on every platform you get on. You know what I mean? Brother Bakari, for a longest period of time, for a smaller platform that he was been on, he had the black business program going. And that's on a small level. So consider a man like him. You know what I mean? If you in a leadership position, direct the brothers them on where to go, because some of them don't even know what to do. Some brothers don't know what to do. So direct them in where you believe that they should be properly placed. And people under the sound of your voice, people who have the ability to listen to you, maybe they may be directed to involve themselves a little bit more. Challenge the men that you around. You know what I mean? As a leader, it's your responsibility to do that as well. Also, let me say this too, because Brother Bakari mentioned something, and I wanted to speak on it. He said that we was talking about the men and what they ain't doing right, which is fine. I remember watching a particular video where there was a long slew of Asians beating up on black women in the nail salons and the hair care product stores and things of that nature. Where there was a group of brothers decided to get together and stand in front of the Asian shop. I think it was a hair care shop or whatever. Basically trying to beg the women who was lined off to get in the shop to buy wigs and nails or whatever, and say, listen, why don't you buy a black business? Hey man, don't go inside that. These people are gonna mistreat you. Do you know what they do to this? It was like 3 brothers. Do you know what a bunch of black women do to these brothers? They was cursing them out, literally saying, "You can't tell me how to spend my mother effort." They really were gonna fight them. So I mean, the conversation, when we look at when we have a conversation, I believe that it should be 2 sides should be exposed, because it ain't just the big bad black man who's always in the wrong, who don't get nothing right, who is creating the problem. The problem is twofold, and if you just addressing the male and not addressing the adult female, the result of it is going to continue to be lopsided, I believe. And that other side has to be addressed. This whole idea of the black woman is God stuff, we need to bring it back to a human level and actually talk about both sides of the conversation, not just one side. And even if the man is gotten straight and gotten his business straight, if the woman is still state property, you still have a problem on your hands. So that
Amen.
side needs to be addressed as well.
Amen.
But yeah, I'll leave it there though. I'll leave it.
Okay,
Amen.
can I say? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's
Go
what I'm
ahead.
talking about. No, Bakari, I'm coming right back to you right now. Only I figured that was the quote you were thinking about. I said to myself, I bet that's the quote. That's why, from you guys that first heard me do a show or whatever, I've always been talking about you got to get to these kids. You got to get you got to build educational institutions, bring them up the right way. And D Webb from the Half Shotty podcast, he always says the problem with that is you're gonna have to fight a lot of these people's mama and grandmama trying to get these kids straight. I'm gonna throw it to Bakari, and after Bakari, I wanna ask this one question. Bakari could answer this too, as he says his part. With these youth out here, right? With these youth out here who are quote unquote bad kids, right? Oye mentioned that he used to be a quote unquote bad kid. But these bad kids out here who are around the gun culture, the street culture, tell me, how are you supposed to get through to those kids? How are you going to get through? How are you going to, in fact, how are you going to avoid getting yourself killed trying to get to these kids who are already out here in the street? Which is why it comes back to both the man and the woman. If you're going to be having children, right, you need to be responsible women, responsible men, both. You have to be both. But Bakari, you say your part, and then I'd like to hear from each of you a suggestion on how we go about going out in the streets, pounding the pavement, and getting through to a 14-year-old kid with a gun in his waist. You guys tell me. Go ahead, Bakari.
Okay, first, I heard what you say, D Webb said, but there's a reason you only arguing with the mama and the grandmama. Why don't nobody ever look at? There's a reason you're only arguing with the mom and the grandmama. Because lots of times the dad ain't there. And I'm just being honest. That's why you argue with mama and grandmama. See, it's both. Now, but we are talking about the discussion with Umar. So we talking about the discussion with Umar, and what I agree with what Umar said, I ain't going to talk about the other side. See, I'm just going to talk about that one side. And that one side they were talking about was what the black men do and what the black men don't. And it's more of what we don't than what it is we actually do. And I'm talking about as a race of men, as a group of men. Come on, how can you be respected? They got this video, it's on YouTube. Dude in Baltimore, the police stood there and beat the shit, pardon my French, out of his son. And he tried to break it up. The police turned, you better stop. He stood there and watched that police beat his 15-year-old son, beat him down. Well, I'm still recording you. How can you expect how can you expect the woman to respect it? How can you expect the people in the streets to respect it? But those are the people, but those are the men that people are seeing as black men. Well, there's no respect. When somebody can come in your house and do whatever to you. This black man that got up and hugged that white woman that killed her brother. I don't even want you to go to kill his brother. I don't want you to go to jail. Just get Jesus. So look at the image that a lot of black men is given. So then when some women see, shit, this dude might be tough. He might protect me. Because a man is, I don't know, I'd say a man is supposed to protect. In every species of animal, that's what the man do. The man protect. And when they living in a family environment, that's the man's job. All with the except of the hyenas, they kind of different. I don't know I don't think we hyenas though, but I'm just saying that's what the man do. But when the black man is always seen by the world and by his woman as weak, it's black men. It was black men that built YouTube channels talking about a black man, forgetting a militia talking about wanting to fight back. It's black men When I'm out here saying, let's go to the gut, let's do this, and let's do this, let's do this. It's black men who don't want to go. It's black men who ain't trying to, you know what, we do need to protect that. More women is purchasing whatever to protect themselves. So this situation, it's like we can, and I know Trigger Happy say, I should never take the white folks out of the equation. We know what has happened, but it's 2023. And I'm not saying forget what happened. When I say forget about them, we gonna have to look at us because they ain't gonna change. That's what I mean by that. I ain't trying to take them out. I know what they did. See, a lot of these people we are listening to on YouTube, they'll sit there and they'll talk about people from the civil rights movement. Then ask them what they have done in 2023. How many of us has faced down with the police? How many of us has stepped up? How many of us have stepped up? How many black men let the police do something to their children and we don't do nothing? I'm just asking. Could be a rhetorical. And we don't do nothing. So then when they find that one that act like he might do something, shit, that's the one I want to be with because that's the one that's going to protect me. I don't agree with them being with Kevin and Brandon because I'm not going to call them Pookie and Ray Ray because see, any black name can be made fun of. See, I don't agree with them being with the dude with the blue New York hat on and the dude with the camouflage. I don't agree with them going to saying they want to be with gangbangers or something like that. I don't agree with that. But I also don't agree with the ones like them that ain't going to get up and do nothing. Because, I can go deep in this because for me, it's deep. For me, it's when the police cuss my daughter out in front of me. That's how they treat us. Like we ain't nothing. But when I told him, if you ever cuss my daughter again, I'll put a bullet between your fucking eyes and cut your head off. How many of us ready to make that step for our women? But then when we look, I'm just saying, how many of us see the white dude in the grocery store getting ready to check this black woman and we make him shut the hell up? How many of us do that? Well, that ain't my problem. That's what most of us say. It ain't got nothing to do with me. So then when they choose Kevin and Brandon, y'all call them Pookie and Ray Ray, or when they choose Larry and Donnell, y'all call them Pookie and Ray Ray, then we talk, they chose them. They chose somebody who they thought would protect them. Because a man is supposed to be a protector. Now to answer your question, how do you deal with 14-year-old in the streets with guns? I'm 51, be a 51-year-old in the streets with guns. Shit, I'm just saying. Okay, so no, I ain't saying go out there and attack them, but you let them know. I've seen it work. I've seen some people run them out the neighborhood. Not just them. Folks left. Look, man, y'all gonna stop doing this around here. Some of my people who I'm cool with ran them out the neighborhood. This ain't gonna keep happening over here. They went and stepped to the houses, to their parents. Well, they should. Y'all got that, we got this. The next time it ain't gonna be this nice. Either y'all gonna get with the program and do right, or y'all gonna get the hell away from here. Some of them decided to get the hell away from there. Some of them decided to get with the program and do right. I yield the mic.
So Brother Bakari, you mentioned that the black women feel like they unprotected. Okay. So what happened with that football player? Because people gonna pay attention to what they're looking at. Based on what they're looking at, they're gonna draw their own personal conclusion. So their personal experience is the black man ain't protect them. So now we had a big cold court case just now with the football player Trevor. I can't remember his last name. Trevor something. He come out of his house to protect his mommy. He said he come out of the house to protect his mother and his brother. And in doing that, he light up a car in Florida where his girlfriend invited her brother and a bunch of his friends to come shoot up his shit. So he defended his house, his property, and his family members. So what do you call that? Is that protection or that's not protection?
Yeah, that's protection. That's what he's supposed to do. He could have shot her too.
Right,
I'm just
right. Hold on. Yeah, I
I'm not
remember
trying to
that.
make like women. Okay, let me say this. I'm not trying to make like women, all women is right. What I'm saying is, I'm just talking about what Dr. Umar and the
Yes.
dude, and the weak dude in the blue New York hat was talking about.
Yeah, but Brother Bakari, he's saying that Brother Umar taking a big fat blanket and resting it on over all black men, where we know is many different instances where black men continuously stand up to protect not only themselves but their family members, not only in America but all over the world. But he seemed to go with a ridiculous narrative, and I think it's ridiculous. This narrative where black men don't stand up and be interested in I personally believe that they one offs because every person, every man on this panel, every male in this panel, under the sound of my voice, if their family member, daughter, wife, etc., was being aggrieved by some random person or even a police officer, would be willing to give up their life for their family members and someone who they care about. So I'm asking, where are these bunch of men who just will walk off and don't give a shit? Because it's certainly in the circle of brothers I'm speaking to tonight. So where are these brothers? Where
Okay,
are these brothers?
Okay, I'm finna show you. You're right. It's not in that circle. But at the gas station, when this white dude sat up there and made this black woman cry, cussing her out and all that, treating her like crap. They were at first. I paused for a second. I'm like, let me see if they together. They wasn't together. All them black men walked by, and I went over there and told her, y'all. I asked y'all together. No, okay. His friend was right there. Don't worry. Stay right here. He ain't gonna say another word. If he say a word to you, I'm gonna beat his ass and his friend ass. Ain't neither one of them gonna say nothing to you no more. I saw a whole lot of black men walk by. Just like when I talked about that motorcycle gang. I saw all them they were scared to make eye contact with the motorcycle gang. Me and Erica Howard was on the phone. Then my homeboy called, said, look at this shit. I said, man, look how these folks, he looked over there and turned his head the other. I'm like, look how these black folks look and turn their head the other way. And I don't have a death wish, and I ain't out here trying to, but I'm like, but some stuff, it's a way you can say things. Ain't nobody got to know what I'm talking, but I think they understood, but that's why they bounced after I went over there and talked to them. But watch this, I'm gonna say this to them. Watch this. What's her name? Harriet Tubman, who according to Dane, Chief Pretendian, didn't exist, but Harriet Tubman came back and saved people live with Underground Railroad. Guess what they say Frederick Douglass said on his deathbed? When they asked him why didn't he go back? Because he was scared what the white man was going to do to him if they caught him. When they was doing all that marching after that white boy walked in that church, and killed them folks in South Carolina. I don't understand what the Confederate flag had to do about that. But when they started talking about the Confederate flag, black folk were saying, take the Confederate flag down. It was a black woman that climbed that damn flagpole and took that flag down and went to jail. Say black folks say they don't want to hear. I'm just saying there's been some things, and I know, see, in people like Azuli, who he have no idea who it is, but it's okay. See, don't nobody want to check men like that. He don't know nothing about that woman, but some bum chick. But don't nobody want to check them, but I will. They can get away with stuff like that. But he'll never come up here with that weak shit while I'm up here. He won't even come on the panel. He's scared to breathe. He tight, holding his breath tight. But don't nobody check that. Because people are okay with men saying something, black men and black women fighting. I'm not even talking about is all women. Oh, I'm just strictly talking about what they were talking about. I'm not trying to act like all women is good. All black women is just great. But I will say the black woman is God. Heaven is the black woman womb. But that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm strictly just talking about what Dr. Umar then was talking about. So why does it bother us when we talk about what Dr. Umar, what they were talking about, Pookie and Ray Ray? Why is it we got to go to what a black woman has done wrong? Because I know what you're talking about when they went out there, and when they was in Oklahoma, after that Korean man had punched that black woman and folks, but you got to remember, Bawana, if we gonna say the story, we got to say it right. It was black women out there with those black men too saying, let's boycott. It was not just black men. It was black women too out there saying, let's boycott. So I'm not trying to act like all black women is great. I'm just talking about what I think greatness is in all black women, but it ain't shown. But I'm strictly just talking about what Dr. Umar was talking about.
And I feel you, but Brother Bakari, you was the biggest proponent when we start blaming on the same panel, when we get into a dialogue where it seemed like we blaming the black guy. He was like, why y'all always blaming the black guy? So now I stop blaming the black man and saying, well, listen, the black man ain't all bad and the black woman ain't all good all the time. I just saying there's two sides to the conversation. That's all I saying. It's two sides to the conversation.
It is two sides to the conversation. That's why when I started, I said, I know I ain't talking about nobody on the panel or in the chat, but maybe Izuli. But other than Izuli, I ain't talking about nobody on the panel or in the chat. I'm not talking about nobody personally.
It ain't personal. It ain't personal. I talking generally too.
Yeah, I know, and I'm talking in general. What I'm saying is, I was just talking about what Umar said. Now, if the next prompt is about women, I'm gonna talk about the black women BS and how they would make a man sometime want to shake their ass to death. I can talk about that too. Not literally shake them to death, but grandma, shit the hell up sometime. Or stop doing this. I can talk about that too, but I'm strictly just sticking to what Umar was talking about. That's all.
Brother Bakari, he'll talk about, and I can stop on this. Dr. Umar Johnson is talk about all the feelings of the black man. Like I would never hear him talk about a person like Reverend Slaughter. He been responsible in his community doing things. You know what I mean? It's like you're hearing the other side of the conversation where black men are actually actively doing things that are productive within their society and their communities. It's only him. All roads lead back to him. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, everybody fucked up beside you. Come on, man.
Come on, what? In that instance, you are correct. Now I'm gonna say this. Then when y'all say Umar is pandering to women, when I say get in the street, only do you remember I showed the one video I'm in the black beauty salon store, and you was like I was flirting with the lady working in the store. I'm going to tell you something. When you stand out here in them streets and talk, I promise you, the women that come to Umar just mean going standing in front of Walmart, standing in front of gas stations. I promise you, way more. Now, it's a lot of brothers come up to me too. I had women, wow, all these people know you like that. I said, yeah, because I just stand out here and talk. I talk about black people and what we need to do. He was like, it was way more women than me. And do you know them women? Like, no, but you could tell they want. I promise you, own it. When you try it one day on it, then your tricking will be over.
No, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Back when I was a community organizer, women would throw their pom-pom at you for sure. I mean, the thing is, women like strong black men. And I think something that's not being spoken about is that it's kind of like what Oye said. The idea of a strong black man is oftentimes that thug, unfortunately. And I mean, that's a problem in our community. But unfortunately, women like strong black men. So I'll say it this way. Khalid Muhammad, it's well known. He was getting, pom-pom thrown at him. And I remember some sister was telling me, she was telling her man, in fact, she was like, Umar Johnson's a man. You know what I mean? Like, and she's like, oh, these other guys ain't, man. She was actually talking about us at the table, but I'm not going to repeat it like that. But anyway, but she's like, yeah, Umar Johnson's a man, And so it's like, yeah, when you get up and you stand up and you do community work or you're, or even I'll put it this way, because I'm thinking of a video game system or whatever. But like fame is important. It's just important. It's a real social factor for humans or even for animals throughout history. You being more famous than the other person actually has weight. If I was like, hey, I want to do the Black National Anthem, right? I could sing pretty well, but Beyonce says, actually, you know what? Let me do it. 9 times out of 10, or not even 9 times, 10 times out of 10, people are going to choose Beyonce. It's just common damn sense. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, like even if you are standing on the hood, if you stand on the corner, right, you're still a bigger public icon than the guy who never goes outside. The guy who never goes outside might be a better person, might be a more responsible person. But at the end of the day, just like there's so many factors in human I guess sociology or whatever. And one of them is your fame. One of them is just so on and so forth. That I'll just say that. But yeah, definitely, you definitely get more pum thrown at you when you are, in fact, doing community work. So y'all make sure y'all do y'all community work, okay?
Women are confusing. Women are confusing what is strong for what is popular. These things are not. They are two different kinds. They are two different kinds of things. Just because a man is able to speak and stand on a platform, that don't make him fucking. That don't make him strong. You know what make a man strong? When he's wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and go work a job until for 8 or sometimes 10 to 12 hours, making sure that his family is well fed, they eat, they have food on the table.
But, okay, hey, look, Bwana, let me ask you this though.
But this
let
is
me ask you this.
Hold on,
she's 18. Speak for her when she's 18.
No, hey, if a chick, like I say, 18-year-old line.
You see what I'm saying? You giving out 40-year-old values. When we talking about 18-year-old women, what is a good man for an 18-year-old woman?
Her dad is.
But you already know her dad ain't even there. What you talking about?
No, look. You asked me a question. Let me answer.
Her dad is in prison. Now what? You saw a good man's man in prison?
Hey, guys, I have other panelists who showed up for a little while now. Why not make your point? Make your point. No. To new panelists.
No, I think that only have a point when he says that for an 18-year-old, and an 18-year-old to a 17-year-old, 16-year-old needs to have a representative, and I would say a dad, a responsible father. Now, if the father is irresponsible, that's another issue. That's another feeling because she has nothing to point to. You say, well, this is a good man. So she looks on the social media and she sees this man talking good. You say, oh, this person, like Dr. Umar, no, this person must be a good man because he is saying all the right things to make me feel good. That's not necessarily what a strong man is. He's just a person who she is watching from the media saying, well, this must be what a good man is supposed to be. And to me, there's a disconnect. But I understand where he's coming from with that argument. I really do.
By the way, Pookie and Rere and them, my apologies, Bakari. Pookie and Rere and them ain't building no institutions either. So
they ain't gonna build a goddamn. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize. They ain't gonna build a damn thing.
They ain't gonna build nothing. So I don't understand why they're a choice. They ain't gonna build nothing. And as a matter of fact, y'all talking about weak men. A lot of times it's really the Pookie and Rere who the weak men. I've known women. A lot of educated women tend to lay up with these types of dudes we're talking about, nurses and teachers and whatnot, and they'll tell you they like those guys because those guys don't be about nothing. They'll tell you that straight up. Those guys gonna come, they gonna lay down, they gonna watch General Hospital with them, they'll watch Melrose Place after that, they'll eat something, fucking go to sleep. These guys ain't about shit. So it's not like you even a true. So yeah, he's popular in the streets, but he ain't about nothing when you get around him one-on-one. By the way, shout out to Marcus McGee and Marcus Garvey is the way who are out there in the chat. Let's welcome in for the first time, Oye. Oye, how are you doing this week?
I can't call it. How y'all doing?
Good. Thanks for coming through. What say you to everything?
When I watched the entire interview, I agree with what he was saying for the most part. I feel like we as black men, we gotta stop being so sensitive when it comes to like when they bring up these topics. Because I mean, when these like podcasts or whatever they call bring up these type of topics, it's just they know they finna get that polarity with it, and it's gonna be a cause for conversation. It's gonna create conversation. But I mean, the points that he was saying as far as from a United States dynamic is extremely factual. I mean, yeah, we know. I mean, it goes without saying. We know there's a large contingency of black women that's out here that you would say that's bum bees, as the brother in the chat said. But I mean, that still doesn't. It's a large contingency of us that's not holding up our end of the bargain, and we can't say that there's a large number of us that are holding down the fort. If it was, our community wouldn't be the way it is. And we as men got to stop pointing the finger and really take on what we can control. Yeah, we know it's finna be detractors from both genders. But if we can't control their behavior, all we can do is try to go for the youth and insulate them as much as possible, create systems as much as possible. That's why the ones of us that know, which we all know this information, we all know what we got to do, but we, like y'all said before, we got to put boots on the ground with it. But I mean, when Umar, when he was at the podcast, he prefaced the statement by saying, "I'm only holding the men accountable because I'm speaking to men right now." He said when he goes to speak to women, he holds them accountable. So I ain't see nothing wrong in what he said. I mean, yeah, he could have added in the female dynamic, but we know how it go. We don't need to point the finger at them. We know what it is.
I appreciate that. Oh yeah, my only pushback against that, like I said a few times before, how can we be solving a problem and you're standing behind us creating more problems? That's my issue with not holding women and not putting the message out there, because Umar might have been talking to men on the panel, but he was doing this on YouTube where men and women will be seeing it. And once he said this, by the way, because here's the other side of it, on Twitter, for example, all kind of women who in fact, let me not even say that, but all kind of women of all sorts was propping up Umar for this shit here. You understand? And that further pushes away them from being accountable to what the whole situation is for us. But again, Oye, thank you for being here. I hope you stick around. And I hope you come back again. Although you do sound kind of familiar. Were you here before?
Nah.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for coming through. I hope you stick around tonight. I hope you come back. All right. Let me go to our boy, our much maligned friend here, Erzuliism. How are you this week?
Yo,
He can
good.
breathe.
I'm
he
good.
must forgot I was still up here.
First of all, I'm gonna say this to every the black woman is not the black woman doesn't belong to the black man anymore. She's the state. Her husband is the state. You just a side nigga. I don't care what people say. Black men, you're not controlling the world. You're not controlling the economy. You're not controlling the armed forces. They're not gonna listen to you for the most part. So Dr. Umar, to me, I don't want to put him as a grifter because I think he's still working on the school. So whatever that is, he does that every time. He always panders to the women, even though sometimes when he get with the women, he tells them the truth on some soft shit. But when it comes to black men, he has no issue going all hard. Bro, I saw him talking about, especially when the interracial dating. When he talks about interracial dating, he's always attacking the black man, but he never says it was the black woman and the white counterpart that went to the Supreme Court to do interracial marriage. So, what this say is this: how you as a black, I understand what some people are saying. How you as a black man gonna try to like control or do something with the black woman when you're not the boss of your own, when you're not the head of state, bro? These women out there now, the new women, I don't know if the women back in the 60s, 70s, 80s were different, but these new chicks right now, they're not listening to you. They're not listening to you because the black man's image has been destroyed to the media and the news and through the mouth and ear of those women's mothers. So yes, black men has we have a lot of our issues that we got to work on, but like Goku just said, if the whole I'm black and I'm proud movement, the whole Afro movement, who studied these things? Who started most of those revolution that we're talking about? This society, they're not afraid of black women because black women are a pawn used to control the next generation through the system. They teach the kids. So Dr. Umar knows all of this. How could the black man take sole responsibility? Oh, we got to do this. But meanwhile, like Goku just said, in the background, if it's implicit or explicitly, the woman is working to derail you. if she knows it or if she doesn't. How are you going to be the boss in another man's house? So me in person to what I was talking about in the situation about I'm not defending any black woman. I don't know what you did with that dude. In a society where there's guns, there's all of this, and I could get murdered. So you want to blame black men for not going to defend a chick? You don't know what she's doing? I just watched a video. I was supposed to post it for Koku. A mother called her 14-year-old son to shoot and kill 2 other people. She put the battery in her black son's mind to come and kill 2 people on her behalf. A bunch of black men's been doing suicide missions all the time. Harriet Tubman did the bullshit. That's the story they told you. You don't even know if that shit is real. Dr. Umar does this all the time. Yes, Dr. Umar sometimes says a lot of truth. Yes, and that, but he always, because he knows his money comes from these people. Just like the pastor doesn't tell the black woman the truth all the time. Just like he's like Dr. Umar's like a preacher right now. All this talk he does is getting on my nerve. I don't pay attention to him no more. Because what he's taking about, we already know this. What's the next step? So to me, I feel that Dr. Umar, even though he speaks the truth, he panders a lot to black women. It's one the black man cannot change the system or cannot work to build a system without the black woman, just like the black woman cannot do it without the black man. Because you know why? When the black man is outside working hard, doing the 9 to 12, who's at the house teaching the children? The black woman. But if the black woman is not buying into the black man's system, what is she teaching the kids? At the end of the day, like I said, these women are not ours anymore. No matter how you want to say it, oh yes, we love each other. No, you're the side dude. You're the one she comes to for sexual pleasure and for little affection. Her mind is already being filled by another man who controls your house from afar. That's all I gotta say, bro.
If black men feel like somebody else control their house, they just need to we just might as well just shut the hell up. Ain't shit we can do. What the purpose of talking? Ain't the purpose of doing? If you're that weak for somebody can just come somebody else control your house. I'm just saying, I controlled my house.
No, I can't speak. You don't control your house. You don't control your house.
I can't speak.
You don't control your house.
I can't speak for nobody else. And for me, I'm gonna ask this question. Why is it when someone says something about black men, why black men get sensitive and got to talk about black women? It's bro, that just started happening in the past 5 years. Black men have been taking all these accountability for a long time. What are we talking about? What accountability? Okay, what accountability? I'll say it again. If you mention the black man did something wrong, unless you talk about Pookie and Ray Ray, I'm going to use the name that y'all like. Unless you talk about them, it's okay to talk about them. It's one thing Koku said that I agree with. This is something me and him always agree on. People think they tough. Those people in the streets and all that, a lot of them have a tough persona, but they're not actually tough, and it take the woman longer to figure this out. See, Dr. Umar talked about men. I'll see if I can get my friend who's a female, who's a psychologist, so she can come on here and she can talk about the women. Because I'm tired of the men being upset of somebody. Oh, but what about what the black woman did, Azuli? What about what the black woman did? And they didn't do this and they didn't do that. They told you Harriet Tubman did something. Okay, well,
that sounds just like Azuli.
Show me where she didn't do it. I'm just saying. And it bothers us so much if a black man say something, or you just a simp, because I said something positive about a black woman. You just a simp. And the word simp is just it's just thrown all around now.
Yeah,
and you're a pimp. Are you a pimp?
What the reason I say a pimp is sometimes a simp too, because a pimp will go defend a pimp could be a simp. There's no responsible. What is a pimp?
A pimp will go defend his woman. I'm just saying. So what's
Yes.
a simp? The simp was the opposite of a pimp. So when you calling me a simp, are you a pimp?
No, a simp is not the opposite of a pimp. A simp, if you just told a story, you saw a black man arguing with a black woman, you don't even know what happened between them, but you're gonna go defend.
I said a white man arguing with a black woman made her cry out there in the public. So I went in.
So what? Even that?
Yeah. Okay. Won't you hear everything? Won't you hear everything that I said? I said I went and talked to her. I went and talked to her and asked. See, you didn't hear that part. You didn't hear that part because you so quick. Because
you want to be a superhero.
Because you are so quick. Because you are so quick. Because you are so quick to get mad at a black man for defending a black woman. You are so mad because a black man defends a black woman.
Is not worth defending. I'm just talking about that certain type of woman that goes off and send brothers, send fathers, send uncles to go fight, and then they end up in jail or dead. I just told you a story.
But I didn't say I defended no woman that did that. I said the woman pulled up at the gas station, and a white dude pulled up, get out his car, cussing her out, made her cry out there in front of it. That's what I said. I say I waited for a second because I wanted to make sure they were not together. So then I asked her. That's what I said. And yes, they weren't together. See, it might be okay with you, Azuli, but it's not okay with me. It have nothing to do with being a superhero. But everything like, damn, well, that's okay. Ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't none of my woman home. You don't even know what he did. I do know he got out and cussed out because when she parked, her tie touched the yellow stripe. And then when I heard him, man, you don't shut the hell up. So yes, I did. And they got guns. I got guns. Shit. They ain't the only people with guns. That's the problem. We so scared of it. It's legal for you to buy a gun too, Azuli. In case black folks don't know, it's okay to buy a gun. A lot of black men act like they don't know it. That's why when I'm in this, when you go to the gun range,
I'm just saying that I'm not.
And I ain't just. But what you did was you called her a bum chick, somebody you don't know nothing about. You said I'm simping. Anything can happen to me, and they probably was together. And you left out everything I said because I said I defended a black woman against a white man.
See what you just did. What you just did. When I said a bum chick, I was not referring to your story. I'm just talking about going to defend some of these chicks in general. I'm not referring to your own personal anecdotal story. I'm just saying that there's a bunch of people, a bunch of women will put the battery in your back to go defend them, and then you end up jammed up. And then when you end up jammed up or dead, then they're nowhere to be found. I just gave you a story where a black mother, put the battery in her 14-year-old son's back to shoot and kill 2 people in Chicago.
Okay, but that have nothing to do with what I was just talking about.
What I'm saying is we cannot.
And y'all see, eventually people gonna hear my point. When I said I stood up for, and I said why, then they go to, well, this black woman did this, but that ain't what I was talking about. We too sensitive. We almost like the women now, the way we act.
Right.
The way we act. The way we get so sensitive because somebody said something about a black man. We damn near switching roles.
Bro, if that's what you want to say it, fine. What I'm saying is if the sister is not on the same as us, I'm not defending her. Point blank and period.
That's respectable.
So if you want to,
who do you defend, Zilly?
And I'm just saying that I'm just talking about Dr. Umar has a habit of doing this. When it comes to the men, yeah. But when it comes to the women, yeah, they do it too, but it's the brothers. Sometimes the sisters are doing it because the brothers are not doing what they're supposed to do. What? Even if the brothers are not doing what you're supposed to, what is your end goal, sister? End goal.
No, but He as far as talking about making them masculine, yeah. I mean, you got to think, bro. If you got 30 years, you got 30 years of a whole family line, bro, that ain't had no father in their house. The women is finna be masculine and take a I don't need this man attitude. We know this. I mean, but again, like we know, like what you said, it's a black female that'll send you on a crash dummy mission. Yeah, bro, you're not wrong about none of that stuff you saying. But at the end of the day, bro, we can't control that. All we can control is what we do for the shorties that's coming up, the kids that's coming up, and try to create something to where we can insulate them so that they can have something that's gonna off balance what they got to deal with from those quote unquote bum chicks, as you said, or whatever. We got to do something, bro, because complaining about it not finna solve it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna ask this question then. I know because you got to go to your. So who's gonna turn our boys into men if we don't want to deal with one another? If we can just look, if it's okay, we can look. So I know, so I can tell my daughter, somebody named is Zuli, because he don't know you. He ain't got to know nothing about you. He don't know what you. He was said there and white boys beat you down because he don't know you and he don't know where your mind is. And I've already told my daughter there's a lot of black men out there like that, which is absolutely crazy to me. That's just me. I ain't saying nobody have to be like me, but to me, that's crazy. What grown black men can say, I would sit there and watch a white boy. I don't know her. I don't know where her mind is. Like, what? That's crazy to me, just to me. If you ain't gonna fight, at least break it up. Ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, that's crazy to me.
Well,
all right. For time's sake, I gotta move on. That was a good discussion. We probably could have had that for 3 hours, to be honest. But for time's sake, we're gonna end at 11. Let me go shoot a brief topic number 2. We could always bring this topic back in the near future if you want. Thanks to KW7 for the super chat, by the way.